Here we are with part 2 of further calibrating an MCI JH-24. If you have not seen part 1, I recommend you go back and watch that. In part 1, we calibrated the audio reproduction and playback side of a JH-24. Today, we are going to calibrate the record side. First, we are going to get into input and VU calibration, and then we'll get into overbiasing and further calibrating the record side of a JH-24. I will be using Pro Tools as a signal generator. So I have 24 separate tracks in Pro Tools patched out through my patch bay going into the JH-24. Additionally, I soldered up a cable that goes from my patch bay straight to my multimeter. One side of it is TT connector. The other side goes straight into my multimeter, and this will make your life easier. Let's get started. All right, let's calibrate this input. I have 1K tone coming out of Pro Tools on every channel. There's the signal generator right there. And as you can see that right now it is playing back. You can see all the 24 channels are green. You just can't hear it because I have it muted. I don't need to hear that. The only thing I need to do is pick what channel I'm going to calibrate, which I already did the first 6 channels. We're going to calibrate number 7. I actually brought it out of range just to show you for demonstration purposes. I have my multimeter right here coming out of my patch bay. Right here, this orange cable, channel 7, coming out of my patch bay into the multimeter. The way I have my patch bay set up is all the red cables going in is the DA out, so the signal coming out of Pro Tools, coming out of these red patch cables into the JH-24. Out of the JH-24, I have black cables set up. The orange cable is my multimeter. Plus 4 dBm equals 1.23 volts of alternating current, and that's what we want to be at on our multimeter. Right now we are low, so let's look at channel 7. That's what channel we're going to calibrate because I already did the first 6 channels. Channel 7 looks like it's low on the VU. Let's first get that multimeter to read 1.23 volts of alternating current. So we come down here, we go to channel 7, and we go to in-cal. We get our tweaker on there. Once our tweaker's on there, we look at our multimeter and we bring that up, and I am adjusting the in-cal until I get to 1.23 volts. Went a little high, bring it back down. There we go. 1.23 volts of alternating current. I just calibrated the input of this channel. And now let's look at the VU. It's still off. Well, we just calibrated the input. We didn't calibrate the VU yet. So let me show you how to do that. You come around here. You got to take that panel off like I already did. Come around the back of your machine. You go to channel 7. And here it is right here. If you look at this potentiometer, which I believe is R5, there's one on every PCB board. And that's what you're going to calibrate. Your VU. So you're going to take... Look at number 7 there. I'm adjusting that potentiometer in the back, and I'm going to raise it up to 0. And we just calibrated channel 7, the input and the VU on a JH-24. That's the process. So what makes it difficult is if you're doing channel 1, 2, 3, 9, 10, 11, 17, 18, 19, you're going to have to take a 1/4-inch nut driver and remove these PCB boards that the auto locator are plugged into, and it's not hard. You just got to unscrew these not all the way and slide it up and get it out of the way so you can get to the resistor you need to adjust. All right, and yes, I do have some lamps out that I will be replacing, but that's another time. Now we are going to set the over bias level for my JH-24. Let's look at the parameters we have to have set up in order to do this. I have a 10 kilohertz tone coming out of 24 separate tracks in Pro Tools, coming through my patch bay, feeding the inputs of the JH-24. The remote is set to tape, and all the black record buttons are engaged. I am going to press play and record and adjust this potentiometer pop right here on the bias card. We're going to pay attention to channel 2's VU. I am going to come right here to the bias card. I am going to go on the high pot potentiometer, and I'm going to raise channel 2's VU till it hits a peak. It just dropped off. See how it starts going back down? The VU went up, peaked, and started dropping back down. I'm going to go counterclockwise from that peak. It peaked at like +1. And I'm going to bring it back negative 3 dB. So it was at +1, 0, -1, right about there. That's how you set the overbias, and you do that for every channel. So now what we're going to do is adjust the record level. So you want the same setup on the remote, all record buttons engaged, you're set to tape, you are going to record a 700 hertz tone to the inputs of the JH-24. And you are going to adjust on the record side of the record cue card, the level. This is your record level, and it's very important. So let's look at channel 2 here, and I'm going to lower it just for demonstration purposes, and then raise it to 0 VU. And that's how you calibrate the record level for a JH-24. Pretty simple. Now we're going to adjust the high frequency on the record side, and we are going to play a 12K tone out of Pro Tools into the JH-24. The remote is set up the same way. We are in tape with all record buttons pushed in, and you're going to press record and play on the machine. And let's pay attention to channel VU number 10. 10's a little high. So you're going to come to the record high frequency and see how I'm lowering 10. Now I'm going to bring it back up. Now I'm going to drop it back down to 0. And that's exactly how you do the high frequency calibration on the record side. Okay, now we're going to go through the low frequency calibration on the record side. The manual says to sweep from 30 hertz to 100 hertz. I'm just going to use a 100 hertz tone. That's the way I do it. You're welcome to sweep. Here's what we're going to do. With the auto locator in the exact same position that we just did the last few steps, meaning that we are in tape, all the record buttons are engaged, the black buttons on your auto locator 3, and we are going to record with a 100 hertz tone playing out of Pro Tools. Let's pay attention to the VU on channel 10. And you can see that channel 10 is a little low. I'm going to go to the repro card, low frequency, and you can see I'm dropping it, and now I'm raising it, and I'm going to put that to 0. I'm going to press stop, return to the 100 hertz tone that we just recorded. I am going to switch the auto locator to auto. I'm going to press play. I'm going to adjust the low frequency on the cue card. And you can see that 10 is dropping, and now I'm raising it up for demonstration purposes. It was already at 0. And you're going to do that for every channel, and that's how you calibrate the low frequency of your JH-24. Okay, we just went through the steps of aligning the record side of the audio cards. We can also go through the process of aligning and calibrating the transport itself. It doesn't help to have all your audio cards and everything calibrated if your transport is sluggish, jumping forward, losing the spool, or causing any issues. So there is a process for that too. There's many steps to calibrating and taking care of a JH-24. And I should mention, there's also guys that have been doing this much longer than I have that have a much greater knowledge on how to work on these machines. I've learned what I've learned out of the will to want to learn and use tape, because I just love the way it sounds, and it's just another option for me to have. When I record, I don't always hit tape, but if I get the right band in, I prefer to hit tape. Let's record the tape, one guitar, and just see how it sounds. Let me grab you off this stand. All right, let me show you my new guitar. Let me swing this lighting around. Try and get some light over there. It's hard getting lighting on these videos, guys. All right, original case. My friend was selling this, and I just couldn't pass it up. There it is. So dark you can't even see it. Black on black, broadcaster style. 1987 G&L with the beautiful MFD pickups that are just, nothing sounds like them. Let's get it in the light. There we go. Let's record this to 2-inch tape, see how it sounds. Let's go through the signal chain really quick. First of all, I use this pick. I get them from Guitar Center. I got a whole bucket full of them. The guitar is my 1987 From Heaven G&L. That went into my 1978 JMP 50 watt. In the back, I have a vintage 30 and a G12 H30. I love these blended together for recording. And that's the reason why I mic'd it on two different speakers, because they are two different speakers. I have a Beyer M160 and a Beyer M201. Those are plugged straight into this old API pair of preamps. I designed this piece of gear right here. And that's going straight to the tape machine. There is no outboard gear at all on the tracks. It's just coming up the two channels. And it's all analog, no plugins, no computer. And it does turn digital because I have it recorded to the Tascam DA3000. And the reason why it has to turn digital is because you're on a computer. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to hear this because it's analog. All right? So that's the signal chain.